All right. Hello.
Hello.
I'm going
I
to.
think Lisa and I will just be observers in this since we do have an.
I
You
know.
do
I
have
was
the
like, I
answer.
only have Staff and Ashley, but no, here comes Nick. And okay.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm hoping this doesn't share the answers. Don't start thinking yet. Okay.
I'm not looking.
Okay. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share the first photo and let me know what you think. So this is trail number 1.
Yeah, I would say I agree, Nick. Chavis, is that what it's called? Chavis Way.
Okay.
Are we're supposed to come together on an answer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, you guys feel pretty solid? It's Chavis all the way?
Yep.
All right. Okay, well, I'm gonna move ahead then so that we can dive into discussion. You're right, this is Little Rock Trail, which is on Chavis Way. It connects Chavis Park in downtown to the Walnut Creek Wetland Center. And I am curious, what is this group's thoughts? What do you think could make this specific trail better? You seem to be familiar with it if you knew it right away.
I mean, it's a beautiful little section, that small section, and with the stone sort of entry points there, the stone markers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest issue is that it sort of drops off on the ends. It's just a brief little segment. And so making that connection, particularly through downtown to get over to Crabtree Creek would be great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think some of the crossings across streets are a little difficult, a little dangerous. Like there's I remember there are crossings where there's not an actual crosswalk, or there are cars parked that kind of obstruct your view to see oncoming traffic, that sort of thing. So I think the crossings could be beefed up.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I saw Nick wrote something about having doggy bags.
Oh, nice.
Attached to the trash bins. Yeah. Nick, are you not able to join us with your voice? I couldn't think of a better way to say that.
No, it's totally fine. Any method of input is great. And I guess thinking about the kind of experience of walking on this trail, I just gave away where I was going of moving on this trail. Are most of you thinking about it from like as you're walking on it? Have you ever seen people bike on it or use mobility devices? Any thoughts around that?
I've only really experienced it walking myself, and I don't recall seeing a whole lot of bikers or otherwise using the actual trail. Using the side streets and stuff is different, but that's just personal.
It's a little more narrow through there than the typical Greenway section, as I remember. So that might be part of the reason why we don't see as many bikers. And the road isn't quite as congested in that area, so it's easy enough to ride on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
so of all of you, how many of you have actually heard the name Little Rock Trail before?
Good question.
None of you have, right?
I mean, it's familiar now that you mention it, but
yeah, exactly. Now that you say it, yeah, okay. But
and are there any features of this particular segment that you like that you think could be applied somewhere else?
I think, as Jen was mentioning, there are the like stone pillars.
Yeah.
you know,
The markers are really nice, and I think there's trees on either side, aren't there, through that area, which gives it a really nice feeling as you're walking.
and there's some interesting open spaces as you're walking along, if I'm remembering correctly, where I think there's almost a section where it looks like an amphitheater, like it kind of steps out. It looks like people used to gather there or something used to happen there.
Would you say that the space there is probably underutilized?
Yeah, I'd say that.
And Nick, you said trash cans are, or trash stations are a new addition and much appreciated. So we'll definitely note that too.
And I think Jen mentioned this too, that it just sort of stops at the city cemetery.
Yeah.
And like that connection to the street there is kind of weird and funky, not easy to navigate.
It makes it seem like this hidden little jewel when you stumble upon it. The first time I found it, I was like, wow, what is this neat little spot? But
Yeah.
it feels disconnected from everything else.
And those the housing that's there, it's like it kind of feels like it's in their backyard, but then the houses all have their backs to it. So you don't, it feels kind of weird to be back there.
Like, can you build off of that? Does it feel like you feel like you're in their space?
Kind of in that particular section right by the city cemetery.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to round 2. So this is the next trail.
That looks like along Edwards Mill or something, doesn't it? So over in that area.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Is that Reedy Creek, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Near the Ag Science Center, over in that area.
All right, so final guess is Reedy Creek or Edwards Mill or something else.
I honestly don't know if they have different names, but I know that there's one over there called Reedy Creek, but that area, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Let's go with that. That was the first thing.
Embarrassing.
All right.
I should probably know that. But.
This is Edwards Mill Connector. It is kind of a multi-use path along Edwards Mill Road, and it connects to the PNC Arena.
To Reedy Creek Road from Trinity Road. Yep,
yeah.
yep. Okay.
So same question as the last one. Are there, if you have used this trail or know people that have used it, what are things that you think could make it better? If it's something that you haven't used, you can kind of talk about, I don't know, other general thoughts about that sort of environment, trails along the side of the road.
Yeah, I can't say I've used that trail.
Me neither.
Very much, but just from the picture that you showed, it looks very uncomfortable, like not a lot of shade, not much separation between the path and the road, especially like a street.
Agreed.
Like it wouldn't be one that it doesn't look enjoyable. Like I wouldn't to go on a.
It would be nice to be a little further from the road and have trees between the road and the path. Definitely.
Do you all feel like this feels and looks like a greenway?
Only in that it seems wider, and I believe it was asphalt. Mm-hmm. So to that makes me feel like it's more of a greenway than just a sidewalk, but it's functioning as a sidewalk. In my mind. Ashley, could you go back to the picture? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is. There's the photo.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of folks ride their bikes over there, right? And they connect through the art museum over to Reedy Creek and to Umstead, and this, I guess, connects down, like you said, to PNC. So I'm sure it's a really great connector. And I'm sure there's a lot of bikes on it.
Yeah, I think you guys bring up an interesting point of kind of the different user experience of someone who's going to be on the trail for a longer time because they're walking and that takes longer versus someone biking that, I mean, it could be much quicker and maybe they feel, I mean, I'm sure everyone would want shade, but, you know, different priorities for different users. It's really interesting. Sorry, Chris, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just going to ask if there was anything, any physical changes to this segment that anyone thinks could be done to make it actually feel like what you think of as a greenway versus just a side path or a sidewalk.
I think the things that Carly and I said, if it was possible to pull it away from the road, which is probably not, there's probably no width to that easement through there, but if you could pull it away and add trees, that would be great. It's also probably a DOT road and they don't want trees along the street. So either way you slice it, it's probably not possible, but that would be ideal.
I think adding like a color variation, maybe to mark it as a greenway. Signage, I think we were just talking about all the destinations that this can take you to and from. So having a regular kind of clear indicators of what you're approaching would give it more of that connector greenway feel.
Yeah, good ideas.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to trail number 3.
The fence makes me think it's Noose River, but I don't really recognize that stretch. Does anybody else? Carly? Yeah.
I don't know specifically. Yeah, it looks like it's going through maybe a more rural residential area.
Yeah, I feel like that white fence is one of the tails of the Noose River Greenway Trail, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Let's go with you.
Right, so we're thinking the noose. Okay, so this actually Reedy Creek.
Passes through, really? Okay.
Yeah, so similar
I've
areas.
walked that one, but I just didn't recognize it. Okay.
Yeah, so thinking of Reedy Creek. And also, I'll go back to the photo so we can kind of think about, oh, that's trail number 4. Thinking about this and also thinking about how it compares to something like Edwards Mill, because those are in a little different context, but they are somewhat similar in these photos.
Yeah, I mean, this one has the ditch section next to the road. It has a more rural quality because I don't see a curb. So it kind of feels a little more relaxed, and that ditch is a nice separator that makes you feel a little bit less like you're right on the side of the street. The fence is kind of a nice add to give it an edge. I can see why there's no trees because there's a power line.
And I thought it was interesting though that I think the first thing you mentioned when you saw this was that fence.
Yeah.
And that you tie that kind of fence to a greenway type experience.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
wondering,
know. Yeah,
like,
it made
even
me
if on
think.
Edwards Mill, if something like that were put parallel, would it feel more like a greenway than just a side path?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also made me wonder if we should have like an identity for each of the Greenway trails, which I think you guys talked about in the last meeting. Like if they each have sort of their own look, so you know when you look at it where you are.
Yeah. Some sort of marker. If it's public art, like, I mean, with the trail that's connecting you to the art museum, maybe somewhere along the way, there's like, you know, a sculpture or something kind of cool that people immediately think that's the trail that takes you to the art museum.
Yeah.
One thing about the fence is this type of fence is the best style of fence for us to maintain. So from the perspective of looking for things that help identify a trail, I think things like the public art, that type of thing fits really well. Something like a fence, I think, could be utilized, but we need to be mindful of, you know, what styles are easiest for and more cost effective for us.
Right. Yep.
And this type of fence is really easy to just replace a board or I don't know, whatever you
Does
call these things.
Does the city maintain the fence here in particular?
At this location, I am not 100% sure.
Okay, just curious.
Thinking about, I feel like we've said a lot of nice things about this segment. Are there things that you think would be value adds? Like someone mentioned public art, or do you think that would be detracting from the character of this Greenway segment?
Yeah, I don't know if this section screams like put public art here,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of more rolling, gentle, meditative sort of feel you're getting because it is more rural.
Yeah, and I imagine if this is kind of that connection part of it to the art museum and Meredith and that area, there's a lot where you're in the woods. So this is probably a really nice section where you come out of the woods and you see the sky, and that kind of feels good, that contrast. So thinking of it in the bigger picture, I think it works. I don't love the power pole, but there's not a lot we can do about that.
Right. There could be, I mean, kind of little bike stations or things that kind of let you know that you're being taken care of as you're on the route. Or on
Yeah, this could be a nice place for a bench, you know, kind of sit down and relax and enjoy the view.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go
add
on
some
to
cows. That'd be nice.
We'll definitely put that in the plan for the city to purchase some.
Yeah, I can definitely see a cow here.
I'm sure there's some creative partnerships that could make that happen. All right, here's trail number 4.
I would guess Crabtree Creek, Greenway.
I was thinking too, is Crabtree.
Yeah. Could be Walnut though. It's hard to say.
One of those two.
Yeah.
One of the two. What's your final?
Oh, well, we both had Crabtree in our head originally.
Okay.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Your second intuition was right. It is
Walnut
Walnut Creek. This photo is very hard because Walnut Creek has a lot of very distinguishing features along certain segments of it, and this photo does not showcase those. So
yeah, it's pretty generic. It's hard
generic.
to tell. Yeah.
Walnut Creek, over 15 miles from Lake Johnson to the Neuse River Trail. And yeah, thoughts about this trail. I'll go back to the photo just because I think that's helpful. Whoa.
And I see Nick voted Crabtree too, so we weren't alone there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, thank goodness.
I mean, this particular photo is a little bit scraggly looking, in my opinion. Of course, it's winter, and you know, you're seeing all the kind of weedy vines, I guess, and some sort of things heaped in the foreground.
Yeah.
But, nice to see a trash can
next to a river or a creek.
Yeah.
When it rains or it floods, it's like bringing some of that.
Yeah.
Dragginess or debris with it.
I like the bend in the Greenway there, so it's kind of offering a little bit of an interest. See what's around the bend.
Ashley, can you hear me?
There.
Yeah, we can hear you, Nick.
Everybody, it's good to see you and to hear you at the same time.
Hooray!
Awesome. Glad it worked out.
It's good to. So I apologize. I think that maybe Jen had asked about my audio situation. Just in brief, I've basically been in transit. I've been trying to get myself in a space where I'm not speaking, and there are other people having to tune into our conversation. So I've got a conference room here at the property, but it was occupied. So I was trying to find another place, and there was a tour going on there. So it's just like I've been shuffling around, and then I remember we had these phone booths that I can kind of tuck into. But I was really holding out for the conference room.
Well, sorry you had to go with your second best.
I gave up on that dream so I could join the conversation. But this is great timing because I was just riding up and down the Walnut Creek Trail, a few weeks ago, and something that really stood out to me were the number of encampments along that trail. And so it's a question, I think, sort of open that door to the conversation as far as from the standpoint of, I guess, tool design and perhaps as it's engaged with other you know, aspects of the city and the city planning, you know, has there been a dialogue around addressing the populations who are finding themselves encamped along the Greenway? I mean, I frankly think that this is a conversation we should be having, because I got to tell you, it was really striking. You know, I think disheartening is just the beginning of how one feels as you see this one encampment after the next along the way. So I guess, Ashley, it's a question to you. Chris, it's a question to you. It's a question to everybody who's involved in really shaping the sort of revamped master plan and the sort of long-term vision. I hope that we're having a conversation around, you know, the human beings who are finding themselves living along the Greenway, and what we're doing as a city to address the bare minimum needs of human beings. That's my question.
Well, Nick, I'll just say that I know that this is a problem that is much greater than something that's just on the Greenway. I just down the street from my house noticed yesterday that there was an encampment, and my neighborhood is just off of Capitol Boulevard, and that's nowhere near a Greenway. And I've seen them in several other locations in Southwest Raleigh as well. So, you know, it's a very sensitive issue, because, you know, being like this one that was so close to my house, and, you know, Capitol Boulevard is a colorful place, and, you know, we often see people with their signs asking for money and stuff. And I've often wondered, well, where do they live? Because how did they get to this point? And now I know that a bunch of them live in that space. And as a homeowner, you think, oh, well, I don't like that because it looks bad. But at the same time, if those people aren't there, where are they going to go? So you don't want to like make them leave if they don't have another place to go. So I just think it's something that's greater than just the Greenway system. I think that's something that really needs to be addressed citywide.
And I hope the affordable housing bond will help in some ways to provide more affordable housing to help with that. But you're right, Nick. I mean, I think a lot of people have been pointing it out on the Greenway in particular, that it has increased quite a bit in the past year. And I don't know if it's because more people are on the Greenway and noticing, or if there truly is a large increase, which I think there is. Yeah. Lisa, do you have any?
And I would just say that we have, I wouldn't call it a program, because a program would find solutions to the issue. But I do know that our maintenance operations team, they work with RPD whenever there's a situation where I guess it's complaint based. So if we have somebody that complains about a homeless person living under a bridge, somebody feels uncomfortable, or a situation where it's really bad, as if it's a true camp and been there for a while, our staff does work with RPD to remove them, but I don't know the specifics of it. And I do know it's a problem that's not going to be, hasn't been erased. It's a continuous issue. So our operations team would know more about the specifics of, like, do they remove camps and they come back? Like, or they just move to a different location?
Lisa, could you share the nature of your operation? I'm not familiar.
The nature.
I'm not familiar with who you're representing.
Oh.
Or who you're speaking on behalf of.
So I work for the city.
In which department?
And Parks and Rec, and I head the planning and design of Greenway.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for your work, because I love our greenways.
Sure.
I think we've got a phenomenal greenway system. And I want to be very clear about, and I guess I should also introduce myself, you know, my name's Nick, and I happen to have the pleasure of serving as a commissioner with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. And to be very clear, you know, I think to be clear with everyone here and with Chris and everyone involved, you know, this is a citywide issue. This is a statewide issue. It's a nationwide issue. So, you know, I don't want to be misunderstood as if I'm suggesting it's up to this Greenway Master Plan Steering Committee to find a solution to what is clearly an issue that, you know, this has been in the works for generations, right? And I suspect the entirety of last year has been, for many, a wake-up call, right, as to all the various layers and ways in which, whether it's housing, access to work, access to, you know, whatever, yada, 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 you know, this is all interconnected. But the long and the short of it is, this is not an issue of it being just a nuisance or unsightly. These are human beings who need somewhere to go. And I think as we have these conversations around the Greenway and this sort of revamped master plan, I hope that we're proactively addressing the needs of human beings in our community living along the Greenway, rather than reacting to complaints coming through to RPD. I believe that this city can do better. I really do. I strongly believe that this city can be more proactive in addressing the needs of human beings right here, right now.
Also, but we still would like to know exactly where that Walnut Creek photo was taken, Jared.
Yeah, for sure. That so that photo was taken right near the wetland center. If you look closely, you can actually see kind of the slanted roof of the wetland center, so it's looking back at it. The bird houses are always what like trigger my mind, that like there's so many bird houses right next to that area. So it was great. Perfect. I think it looks like we've got everybody back. I'll ask all the facilitators, you can stop your recording since I'm recording the larger meeting, and I will